Headlines: SEC sues to force Elon Musk to testify in Twitter probe. And yes, there's always drama with Elon Musk, Tesla, Twitter/X, and we'll get into that one. Plus, Rivian shares drop as EV maker announces $1.5 billion green bond offering. And I'm sure the question that many shareholders are thinking, like, is Rivian a scam? Which we'll get into. Welcome back, everyone. This is Chris, and this is your daily news fix. Always appreciate you. And in fact, headlines are nuts today. Sort of the theme of the day is deciphering what is BS, what is true, and don't necessarily believe what everyone tells you. So let's just start with this one here. SEC sues Elon Musk in San Francisco federal court to enforce subpoena. Basically, there was some question on when he bought Twitter, if he was fully disclosing everything. And if you remember, with Elon Musk, he likes to like tweet out a bunch of stuff. And you always run in compliance issues when you're like really, really rich. You are running a publicly traded company. And I'm sure you guys understand this, like that there's rules of these kind of things because, for example, in the past, this was back in, 2018, and he was like tweeting out that Tesla was going to go private. And, he got sued over this and he had to pay a $20 million fine because, some people, and it's not necessarily crazy, but you got to be careful with the social media these days, but some people base their financial decisions on what Elon Musk tweets. So in this particular situation here regarding Elon Musk and Tesla or Twitter, I guess you should say, he was supposed to come testify and provide, September 15th to provide testimony to the SEC, right? The dude didn't show, I guess. And so now that the SEC is suing him, like, you got to show up. And so there's always drama with this thing. And the thing I always want to emphasize with this kind of stuff is, look at numbers, look for facts. And this is, telling here where Elon Musk doesn't want to go, on the record on what happened with the Twitter purchase. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. I mentioned the X situation, or look for facts, because this is something that look at the headlines here. X has seen at least 55% year-over-year ad revenue decline every month since Elon Musk takeover, or the other headline, which is easier to understand, U.S. ad revenue at Musk X declined each month since takeover. So basically, once he bought X/Twitter, they've just been losing money like crazy. We actually have charts here on this, which is really nuts. And it's funny because, I try to warn people about this kind of stuff. And, why do you care if you're a Tesla shareholder? I would certainly care if your CEO is off, buying other companies and losing like $20 billion. It's in that range and continuing to lose money, but then just like make up stuff and kind of, how can I say, bend the truth a bit on these things. And again, this is why it matters when the SEC comes knocking on your door and be like, hey, tell us the truth, right? And there's a big difference between what you say on Twitter and obviously what you say under oath. Moreover, this is also true. Sometimes Elon Musk and Tesla get out of their, predicaments. Like you can see this one here. The headline, this was just a couple days ago. Tesla manages to weasel its way out of the full self-driving class action, meaning that people were suing. They were saying basically claiming for years that full self-driving is here, it's coming any minute now, these kind of things. And some people called them on that and tried to sue, but evidently they figured out a way to get out of that. But this is a pattern that you'll see, not necessarily just with Elon Musk. That's why I said don't necessarily believe everything you hear, is that, salespeople, these kind of people, showmanship, however you want to say it, or showpersonship, I should say, it is part of the game, right? When you're raising money, trying to sell someone the dream, and you'll see it all over YouTube, people just kind of hype you up, right? And so this full self-driving thing still isn't here. And, moreover, I give you another one. The robot, the Optimus robot. Sometimes I'll read in comments and it'll be on videos like, oh, Chris, you're so dumb. Elon Musk is going to make a robot and it's going to be awesome and everyone's going to make tons and tons of cash. I can't even say it with a straight face because, like, I guess and this is real, if you're new to this world, right, and you just think that anything that Elon Musk says is going to be true, right, you're going to be in a world full of hurt. When they first announced the Optimus robot, and because I remember hearing about it, it's like, okay, he's got this big announcement. He actually brought out a guy in a spandex suit. It was real. Like he said, hey, we got a robot, and there's just like a guy in a costume, and like he had him dancing around. And then when they showed the robot again, this was back in 2022, October, so a year ago, the thing could barely walk, right? It at least was a real robot. And then today again, and this is actually just a week or so ago, they've been showing, and I actually saw the video, The robot can now move blocks around, and the question is this CGI? Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? And so I watched the Tesla robot video for myself, and I'm just like, okay, is this real? Can I really trust Elon Musk and Tesla? Because, they've overhyped full self-driving. The Roadster is not even here. Where's your Cybertruck? What's going on with the semi? and like the list goes on of these kind of things. And this is where I try to emphasize with you guys all the time. I talk about business and these sort of things we're investing. Is credibility matters quite a lot, right? Business is all a game of relationships and trust. And I got a comment just yesterday, and I want to read this to you guys. I think it's an important comment. This is coming in from a mom, and she's saying here, this is on a drop shipping video. You understand this in a moment when I read it. She says, I wish my son, who's 15, can listen to your video. With all those kids becoming millionaires, doing Forex trading or drop shipping, I'm having such a hard time with my son who thinks education is worthless nowadays. As a parent with an education, it's a struggle. I really appreciate your video. Very true. And what we're talking about here, and I want to tie this all together, is I made a video, was like a month or so ago, about how most of these drop shipping channels on YouTube are scam. They're just basically selling you scamming classes, this kind of stuff. And this is the thing. There's a lot of this is just YouTube. 15-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids out there, like children. We're talking about children here that believe everything they hear, right? They believe that Elon Musk is going to build a robot, it's going to come here tomorrow, and you're all going to be rich. They believe that crypto and dog coins, it really is dog coins, are going to make them bazillionaires, these kind of things, and they believe that they're going to make money with whatever hype thing is going on. And this is sort of why I caution you with any of this kind of stuff is don't necessarily believe everything you hear. Here's another one. This is true story. This just came out today. Read the headline of this one. Legal cocaine is coming. This Canadian startup predicts. I read this. Okay. And I'm like, rolling my eyes, but there's people out there who will buy into this kind of thing. And I pose this question to you. Can you take this stuff seriously? And these kind of things, when you see this is actually coming from Bloomberg, this could be a paid ad for all that we know. That's something that happens in media as well. And it's something that I try and emphasize with you guys, again, don't necessarily believe everything that someone's selling you, right? Don't say about everything you hear. You got to look into it for yourself. So this is I'm actually looked into myself. This is the presentation. It's this new company. It's out of Canada called Safe Supply. And here's the argument that they're making. They're saying, okay, the drug war is really expensive. It's like $1 trillion. Cannabis, psychedelics, cocaine, right? Everyone's using all-time highs. Look at all these overdoses. And their business model is like, well, if all these people are addicted to drugs and they love drugs, then we can totally make money from it. And that's the model. Like listen, hey, look at this. Fentanyl is going crazy, man. This is be a huge market, $6 billion market, and cocaine that could be a $3 billion market. And it's hard to keep. and I know for the people who are believers in this stuff, right? The believer that you can make money off selling cocaine, you get upset. And they'll write in the comments, oh, Chris, you're so dumb. You can't see the future of these kind of things. And, maybe I can. And I guess, the thing for me, as I say, is I wasn't born yesterday. I don't necessarily believe everything that someone is selling me. And I don't think it's a crazy thing to say that, I'm skeptical of this kind of company. But this is the reality, though, is that, if you pay someone enough money, they will hype stuff up for you and convince all of their followers to go along with it. I warned you guys about this stuff. So there's an older video, how to scam for dummies, but I make a bunch of videos on this stuff. There's so many YouTubes out there. And I'm just telling you the truth. They'll get paid anywhere. The low end will be $2,000 for one video, upwards as much as $20,000 for a video to hype you whatever crazy company or crazy crypto is out there. I get emails of these offers. I say, no, I don't do it. I don't feel right about it, right? So if you ever have me tune into my channel and I'm doing a paid ad for this type of company that's saying, hey, cocaine is going to be illegal, please unsubscribe. That's when all bets are off. And this is sort of why, for example, when I told you about the Oliver Anthony guy, he was saying all along, no, I don't work for the man. I'm not about the money. And he signs with UTA, right? You can watch the video. I just made it. This is why guys, I understand it's hard to keep integrity in this world, but once you sell your soul, you can't get it back, and don't believe everything that you hear. Don't believe this stuff about the cocaine thing. Don't believe necessarily everything that Elon Musk says about self-driving and still not hear the robot, who knows? And moreover, as I mentioned, we opened with this, is Rivian a scam? So here's the thing with Rivian, it's an interesting one. This is just basically a startup, and the trucks are real. There's just not that many on the road, and we've been hearing about this one. Was it like 2 years ago already? I remember when it IPO'd, and it just like went crazy to the moon. And I made a video about this, a couple of videos actually, more than one, that was saying this is probably the top of the market because it's like reminded me of pets.com. If you don't know what that is, that was back in the .com bubble where you had this like all these companies were saying, hey, the internet's the future, bro, which is actually true, but a lot of it failed. And pets.com was notorious because they just spent so much money on ads. They bought a whole bunch of Super Bowl things. They had this like dog in a sock puppet kind of stuff. And they were hyping that you were all going to buy, pet supplies on the internet. And, Rivian isn't necessarily wrong. So like hype isn't like it's not completely full of lies. Like the cocaine company is not completely full of lies. Yes, there's a bunch of people addicted to cocaine, and yes, if you were able to get regulations and you become the sole supplier of said product, you could make a lot of money. But you got to come at this with what sort of say a skeptical eye or a analytical mind. So Rivian basically I think they have a decent product, what it looks like. But when the reviews came out of the thing, the truck, it's hard to say if it's paid for or not, because this is where social media world is hard to judge, right? Until you literally see it for yourself. Evidently though, they are losing money, hand over fist. The stock went down today like 20% because they said, hey guys, we just are kind of struggling right now, and we need to get 1.5 billion more money to keep going. That's essentially what's going on here. And I think this comes after, and this is sort of where we just did a video just right before this one where there was a bank called Metro Bank that basically is like, hey, we're trying to raise like, was it 300 million, something in that range. And people are worried, oh my God, are you failing? And when news breaks out, then the stock reacts. And this just came out just a few days ago where Rivian, it was a in-depth piece. I want to say this was the Wall Street Journal. I think it was. And it was an in-depth piece about how much money Rivian is losing. Now, listen to these numbers. And this is why I always tell you guys, look at facts. So here, they're saying here, Rivian sells for an average of 80,000 each vehicle, right? On an average. That's a lot. And here's the thing. They lose 33,000 on every car. What? And now, I laugh because, like, yes, guys, I totally understand. So when you first start a company, it's really difficult because, you got to source all your parts. You got to figure out, okay, how we're going to build this thing. You got to hire people. You got to build a plant. It's frankly, it's expensive. And then the issue is that you usually lose money for the first couple of years, and eventually you're going to turn a profit, et cetera. The problem is that in this particular environment that we're in, is there going to be a demand for a Rivian, right? Is there going to be a demand for expensive $80,000 cars, right? I don't think anyone's going to say that's cheap. And that's the average. There's some might be over 100K, right? This kind of stuff. And because interest rates are higher, and that's why I talk about this all the time about this kind of stuff. If you're going to buy these things, how many Americans are paying cash for stuff? I promise you most people are getting a loan. I always say, hey, if you can't pay cash for a vehicle, get a cheaper vehicle. But the average American doesn't listen to me, of course. I wish they would. Please subscribe. But that's a thing. 80,000 a vehicle, they're losing 33. Moreover, NIO is facing a similar problem, and this just came out yesterday. They're losing 35,000 a car. So at least in defense of Rivian, they're at least beating NIO. And NIO, it's interesting because it seems like they do have a decent technology, but you can have a great technology, be it car, phone, etc. But at the end of the day, you're still a business. You got to make money. You can't just be losing money forever. And it's not that great of a business if you're just like giving away cars, essentially. There's really interesting details about NIO here. So evidently, they it says employ 11,000 people in research. They sell about 8,000 cars a month. So they at least sell more cars than Rivian. But here's something that's really fascinating about it. It says here they have they invested so extensively in robots where they have 30 technicians that make 300,000 electric motors a year. So essentially what it is, they've automated their factories. And I was thinking about this, and they're losing 35,000 a year. Like, yeah, theoretically in the long run, if you as you scale up, you can make money. But like, how long is it going to take? And can you believe everything that they say? The thing that's really fascinating about this whole auto industry, because guys, I understand it's capital intensive, is they were saying here in Shanghai, the auto workers make, and this is in China, about 30,000 a year. And you compare that to Ford, where the workers are like averaging at, 110,000 a year, and it's like nearly 4 times more, to hire a worker in the USA. And it's like, this is sort of why I look at facts all the time as much as I can. And, just from a business perspective, well, gee, if it's a bigger auto market in China and workers are cheaper and I can figure out a way to, essentially increase my margin, that's where I'm going to send jobs. It's not crazy talk. And this is why when people propose things to you, right, say, hey, I got this new idea. I'm going to build a new car company. It's going to be US based, US made. We're going to just make tons of cash and look into it. And guys, I know it takes a long time to look through this stuff. That's why I do this channel with you every day, and we got a smart community to like try to cut through the BS. And right now what we're talking about today is like, you lose money making EVs. It's a losing money proposition at the moment for a lot of these companies. And so, in terms of like with the testables that say, oh, Chris, there's no competition, they lose weight. Yeah. And in that case, you're correct. It's tough to catch up with Tesla in that situation, but I wouldn't necessarily count out, and like both Rivian and NIO are startups, but I wouldn't necessarily count out the more established brands like, your Volkswagens, Toyotas, Hondas, Kia, Hyundai, these kind of things, right? I still think competition is coming, but yes, it is tough to transition over. However, you're also dealing with the issue of, again, cost to borrow money is going up, and also demands are going down. And also, too, the other thing, which I mentioned, many Americans think that everyone lives like Americans, but it's not necessarily true. Like, for example, here in Busan, Korea, you don't need a car. Public transit is awesome. You got trains, subways, buses. You can just take taxi, or you can do like a Uber, kind of thing, a shared taxi stuff, basically. And you don't necessarily have to have your own car. And so this idea that, we're always going to be buying cars. Also, too, we have work from home. And I'm just throwing all this stuff in here to when someone proposes something to you, this is sort of the lesson of the day, is think about it critically, right? Don't just accept everything with all the sales pitches that they sell you, like meaning that when someone tells you that they're going to legalize cocaine, don't necessarily believe that it's going to be true, that they're going to make money about. Or, when Elon Musk tells you that, we're going to make a ton of money over at X and we're awesome. I mean, if the numbers say otherwise, they say you're losing like half your money. And if they say like you're losing money every month since you took over, don't think it's necessarily true, and hype has been a big part of this market, in the last month as well, or actually a couple of months, I should say. If you remember this one, we didn't talk about that much of this channel, but it was a thing. Read the headlines here. This Vietnamese automaker is worth more than Ford and GM, but it hasn't sold many cars. And that was the same situation with Rivian. This was back in 2021. Why Rivian is worth more than Ford, GM, and VW, despite not making any money. And the basic gist of it is like, hype can only take you so far. At the end of the day, you got to like bring in the money, show me the proof. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. And this is why I've been telling you guys for a long time, where I think, say, these crypto bubbles, these speculative assets, these kind of things, eventually it's going to burst. And finally, we'll get a correction and we'll get back to, quote, normalcy. But who knows? It is sometimes the markets can stay more crazy longer than you can stay solvent. So anyway, I appreciate your time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any one of these things. Again, the lesson is don't believe necessarily everything that you hear from the sales pitch. So I'll see you guys in the next video.